evening, Keepers of the Cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here, and joining me in the co-host seat this Tuesday, filling in for Steve White. We had to bring in another good Canadian fella, and it's Steve's friend and our friend as well, Mr. Mark Andrews. How you doing tonight, Mark?
I am really doing well, Gary. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, sir.
I didn't even have to ask to come on this time.
Right? Every once in a while, we throw you a bone.
Yeah, well,
gotta keep it unexpected.
Right.
And of course, our guest of the hour, we have Mr. Chuck Hensey, and he's doing our first DVD 1011. Now, you guys are going to see these guys again in 2 nights' time because Chuck will be in the seat Mark's in, and Mark will be in the seat Chuck's in because Mark is doing his album version of the 1011 in 2 nights' time. So you're stuck with these 3 faces all week. Good luck for you guys.
And there goes the sub count right there. So, you know.
But, you know, as we like to do, we're going to go here to you first and make you big. The quick 2 minutes of who you are, where people can find you, and then we'll say hi to the crowd and then come back to you.
I'm Chuck Hensey, and I love talking about comics. What a lot of people probably don't necessarily know about me much, I love movies, and I was raised by a father who loved movies, who worked the theater at college. You know, back when you actually had to haul, the big giant reels of film up and down the steps, and so I got raised by someone who loved the cinema and who adored it, and quite frankly, spent a good chunk of the last couple of years of his life watching a lot of Turner Classic Movies and AMC and stuff back when AMC actually had, movies and stuff.
Right.
So that's where I get my love of movies from. And so we're going to highlight 1 or 2 of these in this set that are things which my father brought along with me. I'm also love animation, as people know about me. And so we might have some animation related stuff floating around here too.
Ooh, love it. All right, well, let's say hi to everyone. First in this evening, Las Cruces. Good evening, James. Nice to see you. We have Kevin from Entropy Comics. Good evening, Kevin. Great to see you, sir. We have one of my all-time favorite people, Jerry the Jitterbug. Good evening, Jerry. We have Brad, Mr. Wellbore himself. Good evening, sir. Nice to see you. We have the Jackson Roykert. Good evening, Jackson. Hope all is well with you, buddy. I just thought of Jackson today because I was in my LCS and I was working in the back room helping him out, and I came across one of the Power Records Star Trek comics, and I instantly thought of Jackson. And then and then we have Mr. DVH. Good evening, sir. How you doing? We have Circumstances. Marcus, how you doing tonight, sir? And of course, if it's Tuesday, we got to promote FOC and Chill coming up right after this show. Go check out Marcus, where they probably won't talk FOC at all, but they may or may not chill. That depends on the subject, but you have to go check it out yourself to find out. And but go check him out after on the Circumstances YouTube channel. Oh, thank you, Mark. We have Miss can't talk. We have Miss Tina Carrington, the original OG. How you doing, Tina? Great to see you.
Hey.
And we have Couching and Slouching with C. Bizzle. Good evening, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I think we are we getting there? A lot of conversation. Oh, we have Anachronic Comics. Joe has snuck in here. Good evening, Joe. Nice to see you.
Good.
And all right, so that's it now. So as everyone's tuning in, I'm going to give them a tip of the hat. But I'm excited for this one because like you, Chuck, I love movies. I grew up on movies. I was always watching something, always consuming media of some form, whether it was reading or movies, but a great love of it.
Yeah.
But it's not about me. It's about you. Let's get to you, and let's just start out, sir.
All right. So a lot of y'all may not know, my undergrad, I'm a high school teacher. It
must be imaginary.
That's an image. My undergraduate degree is actually in American Studies. And so I'm a cultural studies major by training. And what really got all the theory and everything for me to click was when we started talking about visual media. And when we started about television and movies, and I got thrown the comic books, and all of a sudden, all this weird, crazy theory we had just clicked. And it was a very loud click, and it was probably very unsettling for everyone, except the people paying my tuition were like, oh, good, he's going to get good grades now. So, but so for me, when I approach this stuff, that's really where I kind of come from. I enjoy story, I enjoy art, I enjoy the whole collection. And so we're going to start off with some old school entertainment with a Warner Brothers collection of items that were nominated for Oscars. Now, again, a lot of us tend to forget that animation, when it got started off in film, of course, were basically buffers for the main shows. That is, you'd have your newsreel, you'd have your animated short. If my dad passed away at the age of 80, but he was a child during before World War II and then during World War II. So when he would go on a Saturday, and of course Jerry knows this, me, other people, he'd go see the movie serials. So so he'd get the cartoon before the movie serial and everything. And so these are all pretty much aimed at adults, and they have just some fantastic stuff here. And I know we probably can't read quite everything on the list here, but this is a fantastic list of what I consider to be classic animation in many ways. It's got some Fleischer Superman. It's got all sorts of incredible stuff on here. Of course, you've got Foghorn, you've got Speedy, you've got a lot of your traditional people there, even Pepe Le Pew. Some of the back art here with Pluto. It's got some of the great Fleischer stuff.
Nice. Yosemite Sam, you got Superman. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got just incredible mixture of things. And I think I had actually bought this for work. Because I was showing, and I don't remember what it was now. I was showing one of the World War II propaganda ones on here. But for the life of me, I don't remember which one it was now. There we go. Awesome, man. Welcome. Yeah. I hope you don't have to go back to work soon. So, or not too soon. So in conjunction with this, I'm going to keep this with this one here where we've got the complete Superman collection, the Max Fleischer stuff. And for pound, you cannot go wrong with this stuff. You really can't.
Yeah, the Max Fleischer Superman was awesome.
Yep. Well, and it was so ahead of its time. I mean, even today,
emotion in it. It was
and you get great Superman stories. And I know it's Earth 2 Superman, and I understand that he can barely leap the tall buildings in a single bound, and he has to trampoline off the power poles and everything. That's great. But the imagery of him fighting against the lasers or against the robots are just amazing, and are just so much fun. So,
yep,
yeah, I am. Yeah, that's all right. I didn't go too crazy. I actually did pare the list down some, believe it or not. So,
I think isn't it the Travato loophole?
It is. Yes.
Yeah. That's the
Travato exception. So,
or the full Joe.
Yeah, that's right. This also, by the way, includes the Private Snafuperman on here. And if you're not familiar with Private Snafu, those were a series of cartoons that were done by Warner Brothers for the military during World War II. Yes, exactly. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, that were done for the troops to help train the troops. Exactly, and for quite a few of them, actually. They were written by a guy by the name of Theodore Geisel, wrote a bunch of these. So, and of course, we all know him as Dr. Seuss. So they're super, super neat if you ever get to see them. Very adult.
Very adult.
Very adult. There's one on there about diseases, and we're not talking about your common cold either. So, and there's also a good one on spies too, which, brings a new idea to the phrase booby trap. So we'll just leave it at that. And so there we go.
All right. Oh, good start.
So partially inspired by Mark's background there. And if you've seen me on other shows, I love my 60s spy shows. There's just something about 60s spy shows, partially because my dad was a monster James Bond fan. And so he got me all into that stuff. And I could have brought our collection of James Bond stuff, but I was like, it's too easy. Right. I got James Bond. Big deal. However, we do have our dear Dame Diana.
Yeah.
these are just awesome. I understand Honor Blackman was really good, and the Honor Blackman stuff is good.
But Diana Rigg is the
Is Diana Rigg?
yeah.
It's Diana Rigg. You know,
It's okay to be the best.
Like
yeah. I mean, yeah, and the lady that followed her wasn't half bad. You know, she suffered in comparison.
Yep. Oh yeah.
You don't want to be the guy. You don't want to be the guy or the gal replacing Simone Biles on the gymnastics team, because it doesn't matter how good you are.
You'll never be.
You're not going to be good enough. And these are just so much fun.
They are.
So,
and anybody who doesn't know of the Avengers, you can find them online on YouTube and watch some of the episodes. They're entertaining. They're really I quite enjoy them. I grew up watching some of those on replays and stuff, and it is. I'm right behind you, Chuck. So far, you're batting.
There you go. Well, and the fun things about these, it's a very British take on superheroes. It's that weird sort of surreal parallel Britain of the late 60s, which is all mod, all high fashion. Think The Prisoner, think Secret Agent Man, think The Saint. You know, it's that thing that Austin Powers really made fun of.
Yep.
And there's an episode in here where they take on 1966 Batman and do just a straight up spoof on 66 Batman, the 66 Batman show, which is absolutely hilarious, including the sound effects for fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Which is,
I was trying to see if it was on Tubi for everybody that was watching.
It's not. I think Amazon has it though. They had it for a while streaming if you had Prime. I don't know if that's the case anymore or not. So,
yep.
So there we go, right there. So
nice.
I'm right on track there with Joe. So, so next up, and forgive me, I'm not keeping count. I'm trying to group things in groups.
And I always like the askew things from Britain, right? Because their stuff always just had enough of a different flavor where it made it fun and interesting. Like if you're into sci-fi and you're watching Red Dwarf, you're not getting Red Dwarf over here.
No.
Red Dwarf is its own thing, and when you watch it,
Or you get
what was
Blake
that
Seven
hotel series where they were running the hotel that was so funny?
Oh yeah.
Fawlty Towers.
Yes,
Fawlty Towers. Yes. So
with John Cleese. Yep.
See, we got all those just because of the BBC,
And we would get them 6 years later on PBS and look at this. What is this?
It's just really sad because they're great shows.
So Brad loved Red Dwarf.
Oh, Red Dwarf. Blake Seven was a lot of fun. I mean, all that stuff is great. Yes. And I actually showed episode 1 of The Prisoner to my AP Human Geography. Hey, Milt. My AP Human Geography kids this year, and it baked their brains because we were talking about the geography of cities. But I had 3 boys who got completely into it and went home that weekend and binged the whole series, and came in that Monday going, "We got to talk." I said, "I bet we do." Yes, I bet we do. I was so happy I didn't get any emails from their parents going, "What did you do to my child?"
With the Avengers?
No, with The Prisoner.
The Prisoner.
Okay. Yeah, with The Prisoner. Yeah. So next up, if you remember the 90s, and one could argue, you really didn't do the 90s if you remember it very well. No, excuse me, that's the 60s. Sorry, I get those confused. So I must have looked at it upside down. One of the things that was real big in the DVD area were the Walt Disney Treasuries. So I have a couple of these. This is Mickey Mouse black and white. Okay. So the really early Mickey Mouse stuff, which was super cool. I've also got the Mickey Mouse in color also. Now, I did not collect all of these because I'm not that kind of a Disney file. I like Disney, but I do have a life. Right, that's all my comics. So, and you all have seen my pickups with Joe and Anachronic Comics. I like collecting Disney stuff, Disney comics and everything. But I didn't collect all the DVD stuff because these things were expensive when they came out. I mean, they were
always a limited release, always charging you a bunch of money.
Yep.
At the time, it was like $35, which was a lot of money for back then.
Yep.
Right. And some of them now, and some of them are super, super expensive.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to, I was getting ready. Yeah, exactly, Jackson. Like I've looked at trying to get the Scarecrow, the Dr. Sten Scarecrow stuff. Man, the bidding on those things are just nuts.
Yep.
And I wish I had known about them when they came out. But I do I have a bunch of these though. I wanted to show this one. The other one I wanted to show, which I really love. I understand. Is your wartime ones here on the war front.
Oh wow. That one I never saw.
Well, some of this is having a father who was old enough to remember World War II.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a young kid during World War II. He was 8, 9, 10 when World War II took place. Who lost a half brother at Bataan on the Death March. I've always had an interest in World War II propaganda stuff, and especially the cartoon propaganda. Yep. And so this was a really great case to get the Disney war propaganda stuff, especially pre-YouTube, pre-Disney Channel. And the Disney Channel doesn't even have all this stuff because there's some things in here. Yeah, Disney not pulling out of the archives.
Right.
I'm just going to tell you, they're not pulling out of the archives. And I don't blame them. But it's great to have
one-sided. It's all propaganda, right? So it didn't paint some people nice pictures.
Exactly. And so you don't expect them to be even-handed or to use decent terms about people because they were at war.
Yeah.
And your goal was to get people to be patriotic. And you'll get people being patriotic by saying, well, the Japanese are kind of nice people.
No, I mean, pretty nasty stuff in there. So you need to be prepared for that if you ever see that.
Yeah.
But also put it in the right context of what was going on and look at it from a historical perspective.
Exactly.
And like it is what it is, but
and just understand that propaganda was the same no matter where you were from. So if you're over in Japan, then it was the opposite of how we look to them.
Yep.
Just everything,
And we may have some more propaganda coming up too. One nice thing about this though is it did come up with they did have some really cool inserts with it. I got my little Disney treasure things here, which is nice. The other neat thing it had was this.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Which came with it kind of highlighting one of the cartoons, which was really, really neat. So
now to find that original, that would be.
Ooh, yeah, that would be nice.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
So this,
or if I did, I don't remember it anymore because I was so young.
Yeah, again, the war cartoons generally weren't shown on like the Wonderful World of Disney and stuff.
No.
So I mean, they weren't generally shown. And of course, and this is just a smaller version of the movie poster, which would have been, yes, exactly, Jackson, right. And some of the Tom and Jerry in the first thing I showed you definitely would not make it on TV.
Oh yeah,
either.
I can remember cartoons I watched as a kid that they wouldn't show now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I can. Yes.
I mean, so many of them.
Yeah. If you listen to Foghorn Leghorn and some of his rants, you'd be going, "Whoa, that."
Some of the
unless you're from the part of the world, unless you're from the part of the world where I'm from and where Jackson's from, where we go, I got an uncle like that. I see it family reunion. And there's a reason they don't let him out very much, or they let him don't near the alcohol. Right. So, anyways,
right, and it was like that a lot too with Bugs Bunny. Like he would do impressions of different cultures, and some of them are pretty cringy now.
Oh God! Oh yes! Oh yes! I mean, and one of the, and I think it's on the first one I showed you. There's a Warner Brothers war one, where it's called Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips. Yeah. I mean. Yeah, and in my collection of stuff, I do have some stuff that I got from somebody on eBay back in the 90s of, supposedly censored cartoons and stuff. Where, there's a whole bunch of stuff on there that you can find them now on the internet if you're really curious to see them. Yeah. But that I won't show to my kids, right. I look at it and I go, wow, that's really bad. Yeah. That even in the 1930s, that was really bad. So
and it also goes like I always speak about it too because I read a lot of pulp novels and stuff from 30s, 40s. Yep. But if you're going to read that kind of stuff, you have to be aware of what was going on around the times, and that you're going to run into stuff that doesn't really gel with today's society or mores, such as Joe said. So when you go back and you're reading something or watching something from that time period, you always have to remember what people were going through during that time, what the views were, and just, I mean, you can't put yourself in that mindset. You shouldn't try it.
Yeah, even some of the ads. Like I've got some of the old books from the war, and some of the ads for toys and stuff that were non-war related materials and stuff. Like, just anyway, you just need to put yourself in the right.
Understand why it was the way it was then.
Yeah. So I mentioned animation. I love animation. So I'm going to show a couple of things here that show my love of different types of animation. So we have a classic here.
Oh, I have that. I love it.
It's so awesome. This is great. I've tried showing it to my own kids, and they were just like, "Dad, why?" Because I said, guys, it was the 80s. We were desperate. We had to watch something after Spider-Man. It was not tricking the Fonz in outer space, okay? And
they had a cool villain in that.
Oh, they did. They had a great villain. But, again, it was, look, guys, we only had 3 channels plus UHF. Cut me some slack, all right?
Right.
Really.
And if we wanted to watch cartoons, we had to get up early on Saturday, get our bowl of cereal, and be ready.
Yep.
That's right. But fortunately, I had a younger brother, so I had someone to stand up there and move the bunny ears around for me in case we didn't get any reception. I also have another one of my favorite animated movies. I love The Beatles. Love this movie. The movie's so much fun. My kids, for my birthday a couple years ago, got me the Lego Yellow Submarine set, and it proudly sits on my desk at work. And I can always tell which kids are going to be successful in my room. The ones who walk by go, I know what that is. And I'm like, good. You passed the first test in here.
There you go. Extra marks.
You have culture. That's good.
If they know what a blue meanie is, do you give them even more marks?
We don't discuss blue meanies in my room. So we try to keep the room positive as much as we can. Another great animation, stop motion, highly underrated, fantastic Mr. Fox. This is Wes Anderson, as Wes Anderson is not the best Wes Anderson animated I've ever seen. The dog movie he did, which I'm drawing a blank on the total name of it right now. Isle of Dogs, I think, maybe.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
He did, I think was better. Had Scarlett Johansson doing one of the voices. We went and saw it with a couple of friends of ours and just absolutely, and I didn't think they were going to like it because I didn't think they liked animated stuff. And
everything's better with Scarlett Johansson.
Well, I tend to think that too. However, this being a female psychiatrist, I wasn't necessarily going to delve into that in public. So,
Isle of Dogs. You are correct.
Isle of Dogs. There we go.
There you go.
This is a lot of fun also, and it's a great retelling of the Ronald Dahl story. So, in terms of international stuff, I don't know how many people remember this, but the Triplets of Belleville. This is a really wild French one. Quebec. Yeah, and it's got a great music. It's got great music to it.
It's got fantastic music. Like,
the story is
it's a little out there, but the music is cool, and the animation is really neat.
I did not like the follow up, The Illusionist. I didn't think it was anywhere near as good that they did.
Not as good as that. I'm trying to think of which company out of Quebec put that out.
Give me a minute here. It was done by Sylvain Chomet, is the one who is credited with doing the movie. So I don't know who in Quebec it was.
They were tied to, I can't remember which, they were tied to another company that helped promote it. But like award-winning, very cool music, very cool cartoon.
No, that one I never saw. I remember it coming out, but I never saw that one.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
It's worth watching. Like I said, it's really neat, very, very stylized. The story is a bit out there, but it's not a bad story.
No,
it's just a bit out there, but it's a lot of fun though. And I'm like you, Mark. I love the soundtrack to it. We
Yeah.
actually bought the soundtrack and would listen to it on its own. So
Very cool.
all right. One last animation thing before we get two other animation things, then we'll get into the propaganda stuff. So this is an Israeli film. It won Oscar for Best International Film. Waltz with Bashir. This was done by a guy who was a veteran of the Israeli army. This is from, I've got to remember the year here now. Excuse me while my brain tries to kick back in here. Sorry.
You know, Mark, you think for being a teacher, he would have had his notes all set.
You would think
Yeah,
so.
you would have thought I would have been completely together. I know. There you go, 2009. Yeah, 2000. I was trying to remember. It was early 2000s. It was the 2000s. So this guy was a veteran of all the fighting with the Palestinians and everything. And it's a very, very nuanced, very realistic take on war and what war does to people. And like I said, it won the Oscar for Best International Film that year. It didn't get nominated in animation, I don't believe, because the Academy's stupid. You know, if it doesn't have a singing animal in it, it's not worth nominating. So at least that was the attitude back then. But this is really, really good, really, really powerful. It's not anti-military per se. It is much more about the effects that war has on people. So, you know, I never took it as being anti-military, just very much this is what we're dealing with.
Right.
You know, in a much more complex conversation than a very simple binary, you know, X is good, Y is bad. So
It was 2009, you said?
Yeah, 2009.
So kind of like a Graveyard of the Fireflies.
Very, yes, similar. It's kind of in the similar vein there. Yes.
Cool.
And by the way, I have lots of Miyazaki here. I didn't bring any of it because I was looking at the stack and I was going, this is getting really high.
Well, Gary's not even counting. Like, he's just letting you go.
I know.
Because he said he's just got his pile. So I'm like, all right, why count? He's got his pile to go.
I figured I'd warn him ahead of time. Plus, I think our copy of My Neighbor Totoro doesn't work anymore. So
one of my favorite movies. I love that movie so much. My Neighbor Totoro. It's
my
so
kids
charming.
love it. So continuing on the
2009 Melt.
Yeah, 2009 Melt. Yeah, I think so. So we have Star Trek the Animated Series, highly underrated if you're a Trek person. You know, the stories are not the best, but DC Fontana and others wrote a bunch of these. And this case is just so cool. I love the case for this.
Now, how many episodes did that animated series go for?
It was 2 seasons. So I want to say it was about 30 something, I think.
Yeah.
30,
Yeah, I was gonna
40
say because
maybe?
back then, like animation seasons were weird. You either had like 6 and then 20 and one. Like they never had the same amount any season either. It's just whatever they had produced.
Yeah, but these are surprisingly good, all things considered. And you know, this is what kept Star Trek alive for the Star Trek fans in between. You know, this was the new Trek they had in between the series ending and the first movie. You know, and I think people tend to underestimate the importance of that. And the fact that most of the original cast voiced stuff in here.
Yeah.
And I thought it was weird too, right? Because the original series only went 3 seasons. Usually something goes 3 seasons. You don't do an immediate revival of it. It's not really considered like it was that popular. So then to go right into a cartoon, which almost lasted as long as the original series is weird.
22 episodes.
Yeah. Well, and what happened is, of course, you know, the original series went into reruns. Yeah, exactly. That's right. And there's some really good stuff in here too. I mean, you know, Filmation actually spent a little bit of money on this. It was not normal for Filmation to spend money on stuff, but they spent a little bit of money on this. And you know, people forget exactly that. You know, the main show had already gone into reruns, and the reruns had done so well. That's what spurred this on.
Yep. Was
that the reruns had done so well? They were like, okay, we can do this cheaply and throw it on, you know, in the morning and do this. And the big thing, of course, was that, you know, Nimoy primarily, and Shatner to a certain extent, but Nimoy especially, really pushed to have as much as the original cast
Yeah.
doing voices as much as possible.
Yep.
And
Right.
so
Why not keep their characters alive with the original people?
Yeah. And they did.
And they did, yes. And for some of those actors, I know Nichelle Nichols talked about it, and I think George Takei talked about it too. This was, and I think Doohan talked about it. This is where they were making the money, or this is where they were keeping making money. Milt, you're right. They could do a lot of things with aliens here, which they couldn't do with the practical rubber costumes at the time.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think of the name of the one navigator on the console that you would have never got him. One with the long neck and multiple arms. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who looked like he was Hammerhead's third cousin by a second marriage.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They were just cool characters. They could do some really neat stuff. And it was a good show. And that was like from 1973, right?
Yeah, 73, 74, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just remember growing up on Star Trek reruns when I was a kid. They were everywhere.
Well, some of us remember growing up on Star Trek, Gary. So there.
I know. Well, then like I remember what the deal was when Deep Space Nine got announced.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I will tell you, I like the animated series so much that a bunch of years ago on Heritage, I actually picked up one of the background matte paintings.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
So we have our glowing cave here that they would run across. Yep. Yeah, exactly, Jackson. That's right. So this was cool. I picked this up on Heritage for virtually nothing because I can't afford like actual like cells because
but that's cool.
That's cool.
But this is still cool to have. So
now I can see that leaned up against the wall with Teacher Chuck laying on his carpet with a couple Star Trek figures, having a grand old time playing in front of it.
I will tell you, this was actually my Zoom background when we were doing Zoom teaching during the pandemic. So
that's a pretty cool background. I like it.
Yeah, it was. And of course the kids were all looking at it going, why? I said, because I can set my own background. That's why.
That's right.
DVH is saying original backgrounds are far rarer than cells.
Cool. DVH will just convince the market now to
accommodate.
Agree with us on this. I would love it. So next up, when I taught world history for a long time. I also taught AP European history for a long time. And I like bringing in my love of animation and stuff into the classroom, right? Gives me a chance to connect with the kids, to have them all agree that I am actually as weird as they think I am. And so in the 90s and the early 2000s, I found online, Jackson, they knew that walking in. It is not a surprise. I found a guy who was talking about Soviet propaganda cartoons. And I was like, okay. So it turns out you could actually get a DVD collection of Soviet propaganda cartoons with English subtitles on the bottom.
Wow. Who knew?
These things are bonkers. I mean, legit, holy crap, bonkers. Oh, that's awesome, DVH. Man. So
what years are those from, Chuck?
This goes from like 1924 to basically the late 60s, early 70s.
Wow. So some pretty heavy duty.
Yeah. So it is just read out of here. I've got some notes here from the people who did it. So they were divided up into different categories and everything. The earliest one was 1920. 1933. And about American imperialists.
Wow.
And they break this up basically into four categories. You have American imperialists, fascist barbarians, including a bunch of newsreels, I might add.
I'm not upset with being called barbarians.
I know. Capitalist sharks, you actually had one from 1924. Interplanetary revolution, which is just bonkers crazy. And then onward to the shining future. And so what I would do is I would take like 2 or 3 of these and show them when we taught the Cold War. and have the kids see it from the Soviet perspective. And one of them is set around, I think, 1934, 1935, talks about the various 5-year plans. And so they actually use a lot of the vocabulary we talked about. They show images of the kulaks, the so-called rich peasants that had to be overthrown, and all the other stuff. So we were able to integrate the vocabulary into the actual propaganda that they were seeing.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
So it was really, really neat. There's another one on here, and you can find, again, most of these online now, where under the American capitalist stuff, where it talks about like a really rich widow who leaves all of her money to a dog, and you get a reverse animal farm or you get an American animal farm where he goes from being a dog to a captain of industry, and you see him change and start dressing like a human and driving a car and all this other stuff. So it's really kind of wild.
Yeah, out there.
But again, it was super cool to be able to show to the students and to be able to show what the Soviet government was feeding its own people within their own closed media system.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's something that you could put on a channel and just so people could watch.
I think these are all on YouTube now. I could be wrong.
So I gotta look up what's it called again?
Animated Soviet propaganda.
All right. I'm gonna look it up.
So
that is an awesome teaching tool, Chuck. Well done.
Yeah. And so it was, it was great to be, and it was definitely something different. So
yeah, absolutely.
You didn't have to go very far to tell kids, we're going to do something different in here that no other teacher is going to do. So,
it also explains why you're on the FBI list. But anyway,
it probably does. But
Jackson, I hope your dog lets you out when you got to go potty.
Yes, I know. Well, at least hopefully he drives you around well. So the next three.
Well, I think too. You know the things I like when they show about war. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Chuck.
No, go ahead.
Was people get caught up in everyone's government and how they're attacking each other. But the thing that always fascinated me is, and this is just my own personal belief, is civilians. To me, civilians are the same everywhere. You're just trying to provide for your family. You're trying to take care of the people you love. And when there's war going on, there's nothing good for you, no matter where you're a civilian.
No,
you're not wasting your time hating. You're wasting your time trying to protect your family, trying to make sure they're safe, trying to make sure they're provided for. They're not hungry. They're not cold. They have a place to be. Yeah. I have friends who grew up in Bosnia, where their father would have to go hide in the woods at night because they were going around to houses and shooting the males.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just like terrible.
To learn that stuff, Chuck, you use that kind of stuff in your classroom to show the real world, especially from outside your own country's perspective. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Well done.
Well, thank you. And the neat thing is, there's something there where they talk about war. And Gary, you're talking about there where they're talking about the end of World War II leading up into the Cold War, where, the cartoon says, hey, we've been invaded this many times by these people. We've been invaded by these people this many times. And please understand, I am not apologizing for anything that was done in the Cold War. So don't anyone take it that way. But it does allow you, to say, okay, well, maybe there is a reason why that was done. It wasn't just because Stalin was crazy, though that might have been 90% of it. But, outside of that 90%, there might have been 10%, that might have been vaguely valid. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Stalin we're talking about. So, and while I don't have a DVD out, if you've never seen Death of Stalin, you need to see Death of Stalin. That's an awesome movie. But the next three are movies that I just love. That some of these are movies that my dad introduced me to. Some of them are ones I found on my own. This is one he introduced me to, and if he was here, I would tell you it fits his sense of humor perfectly.
Oh, it's Dr. Strange.
Dr. Strangelove. When I used to teach a mass media class, we would watch this too, because it was the only Kubrick I could show in school and not get fired. And and again, you knew your bright kids when they laughed at the.
You didn't show them Clockwork Orange? Come on.
Man, that movie. I have seen that movie twice. I can't see that movie disturbs the hell out of me.
It's a messed up
It
film.
really does.
It's a disturbing movie.
It is a disturbing movie. Though the fact that Teen Titans brought Malcolm McDowell back to do Mad Mod was just the best deep cut in the world. I'm just going to tell you right there. This movie is it's so good. Again, it's a great one when you're teaching the Cold War to use. You know, while it is absurd, it's grounded enough in reality to, you know, make the absurdity, you know, to give a basis for the absurdity. So that's one of them. The next one is my favorite movie of all time, which is The Manchurian Candidate.
Ah.
If you've never seen this movie, you need to see it.
Great.
Don't see the remake.
Movie.
See this one. For one thing, it's got Angela Lansbury in it, so you know it's going to be good. You know, if all you know Angela Lansbury from is her time at Disney and Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote. Yeah.
You're in for a little shock, but that's okay. We're not going to spoil anything for you. Just watch The Red Queen. So this is a fantastic movie. This is a movie my father and my best friend's father got us into. And that explains many things, Jackson. It really does. Anyways, they got us into this in the 80s during one of those ubiquitous snow days where, you know, they had to troop us down to the video store to find something to keep us busy. And the remake is not very good. I agree 100%. And they found this, and both the dads got excited, and we were like, why are we going to get excited about this movie? And then we got about a third of the way through it and went, holy shit. And then we did that like 5 or 6 more times. There's a lot of humor in this movie that you don't necessarily catch the first time around. It is a wickedly funny movie. I do feel bad for her because I think she's just in there primarily so that Frank Sinatra can check off on his contract. He has to kiss a pretty woman in every movie he's in because she really doesn't bring much more to it than that. And I feel bad for her in that regard, but hopefully Janet Leigh got paid well. So
but
for her,
excellent movie.
Yeah.
If just going back real quick to Malcolm McDowell, have you ever watched Son of a Rich?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Okay, because he's the grandfather in that show. He's hysterical.
Malcolm McDowell, he's one of those actors you don't realize all the stuff he's been in until you start looking around, and it's always good. Even his time in Heroes was good, you know, and you're just like, geez, man, you can do anything. You know,
he's got his own unique presence, and it's always felt whatever he's in.
Yeah, it's almost a Christopher Walken type presence. You know, you're just
Well, I think Donald Sutherland too was like that.
Donald Sutherland was like that too. Yes, when Donald Sutherland showed up, it had that vibe to it. So,
anyways, sorry, I digressed.
Oh no, that's quite all right. So, we have here in DVDs The Wiz.
The Wiz.
This is not a great movie, but it's a fun musical. There's no good reason for me to like this except I saw it at like age 7. And again, kind of watched it and went, what in the holy hell is this? And unfortunately, it imprinted on my psyche, and it not necessarily in a bad way. You know, it's got a young Michael Jackson. Well, he is. Well, it is better than people gave it credit for back then. I would not go so far to say it's good. The soundtrack is good. You know, Quincy Jones helped produce it. The soundtrack is great. The movie itself, yeah, you know, but it's fun. You know.
Okay, so, we'll say it's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. You see, now I've successfully imprinted that on everyone's brain for the rest of the day.
And
so there we go.
Anyone that's so inclined can watch the Manchurian Candidate, the original 1962 one, on Tubi for free.
Ooh, there you go. Good for you. Very good. All right. Just a couple more here, and then we will get to the quote unquote spec, or the one that I want to show you guys the website associated with it. Another movie here, Galaxy Quest. I showed my love for Star Trek.
Yep.
Oh, Galaxy Quest is so good.
Freaking funny. It really is.
It is funny.
And you know how I know it's good? because I'm not a Tim Allen fan, and I love that movie.
Same thing here.
Yep.
Alan Rickman is just brilliant.
And Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah,
Yes,
Tony Shalhoub is
Him and the alien are so fun.
Oh, I know. Well, and Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get another actress who, we don't always think about, but supremely talented comedian.
Yep.
Forget all of her, genuine acting chops. She is so freaking funny. So I love this movie. I really do.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah, it's a great love letter to anyone who's like space shows.
Yep.
It's just fantastic.
Yep.
Like when I saw that, I expected to hate it, and I loved it despite Tim Allen being. And I just never liked him as an actor. Like, I don't have anything personal against him. I just never enjoyed him as an actor. That movie is the one exception.
Yeah, I mean the cast is great. The story's funny.
Yep.
It's a good movie.
People that understand the material and know how to parody it properly.
Yep.
They love it. It's not a mean parody.
No,
it's a loving parody.
No, it's a love letter.
Yeah,
it
is. And that's what I like the most about it. So
yes, Marcus, I agree.
I got news. Sigourney Weaver works for me whether she's got hair or not. So I'm just referencing some alien stuff there. So, all right, and then another classic here, which again I might have bought for school and also for myself. The Great Dictator with Charlie Chaplin.
Mm-hmm.
Love Charlie Chaplin. We've also got a Buster Keaton collection floating around here somewhere. Just great stuff. Just great stuff. And, again, Chaplin's another one. People forget how great of an actor he was because they always focus on all the comedy stuff and the physical comedy. But then there's the actual acting to do the physical comedy. And here you get a marriage of both of those. And of course, if you're a fan of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen by Alan Moore, there are references to this movie in one of the collections. No, I don't have any Harold Lloyd, Jackson. I do not have any of that. No, but there's a reference to Hinkle in one of the later trades.
Yeah.
That they did, where they actually reference Herr Hinkle in one of the Nemo trades that came on later.
That's one of the daughters, the Nemo's daughter one?
Yeah, Nemo's daughter. Yeah. And I don't remember the exact book now, but yeah, it was one of Nemo's daughters. So, all right. Just
again.
Yeah, see, there we go. But we made it 46 minutes before that, 48 minutes before that happened. So it's not quite a record.
No.
So only three things here, two and then two that go together. There aren't official movies, but they're collections. And then Gary, we're going to pull up that website I told you about when we get to that. Okay.
Okay. Let me get that website up because I put it in the description, but I didn't.
Okay. Good. Well, I'm glad you did. So we have, of course, some classic Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee.
Yep.
I'm a child of the 70s. I mean, do I have to say anything more? I got an entire run of Deadly Hand of Kung Fu. There's a reason for this. Here we go. And just a super fantastic collection of movies. If you like Kung Fu movies, if you like everybody Kung Fu fighting, this is what you got to see. And it's just amazing. So now I don't have most of my DVD collections, by the way, are not with the extended commentary stuff because I'm poor. Well, not poor. All my money goes to comics.
Expensive.
So instead we just generally got what we got. So along those lines with the fantasy stuff, a really, really spooky movie in Pan's
very
Labyrinth.
spooky.
Oh, yeah. Anything by Del Toro is amazing. I'm a big Del Toro fan.
That one is nuts.
But it's nuts.
It is nuts.
It's nuts.
It's one of those movies you're sitting there watching it and go, I don't remember taking anything, but I must have.
What's wrong with me? I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
So we got Pan's Labyrinth here. which is just fantastic. And I love, this is another one. I don't go back and revisit it all the time, but it's worth a good revisit.
Another one of his that if you've never seen it, Chuck, and it has the best ghost effects I've ever seen in any movie ever, was The Devil's Backbone.
No, I've not seen that. I'll have to pull
that
one
is
up.
all in Spanish. A fantastic. That was my introduction to Del Toro, and that's what hooked me on him. That is the first Del Toro movie I ever saw, and from then on, I'm like, all right, whatever this dude makes, I'll watch.
That's awesome. Well, and
you'll like it because it takes place in a certain time period after wars and stuff, so you'll like it.
Cool.
That sounds a lot like Del Toro. That's really cool. So, and I will tell you that that Run Lola Run just missed the cut for tonight. So that's another one of my movies that I absolutely love. So that's another one that's just sort of barking mad, but in a good way. So my so-called spec is connected with a local group here in Raleigh that transcribes videos, the AV Club, who are just awesome. And this is when they just started doing their work, where they were taking educational movies from our classroom childhood and putting them on DVD collections. Now, for those of y'all who are younger than me and Mark and Gary, or who did not grow up in the continental United States and Canada, you might not have been subject to these, and that's good. These were the so-called educational videos on how to socialize and how to be a good citizen and how to be a good person. They are, oh my God, horrible.
Yeah.
But
anytime we had one, we all groaned. It was like, no, we don't want to watch a film.
Exactly. Now, I will tell you, this one here on sex and drugs does include one about a case study with marijuana, starring the late Sonny Bono.
Wow.
And personally, I think they picked him for the wrong one. They should have had him on the LSD one. But, what can you do?
What can you do?
So this one here is about sex and drugs. Yeah, but Wellbore, the only time that was the case in my neck of the woods is when it was ACC tournament time. And we knew that the teacher had basically given up, and all of us pulled out our brackets and rearranged the classroom based on our religious preferences. So you had the Carolina fans in one area, you had the state fans in the other area. At least when I was in elementary school, you had the lone Duke fan who just sat there and looked pitiful, but tried to claim they got a real education. And nobody cheered for Wake Forest, so we didn't really worry about it. And we all agreed that Maryland was evil. So, it was fine. So we have social engineering here, which of course is all about having good behaviors, includes lunchtime manners, Soapy the germ fighter, the outsider, why doesn't Kathy eat breakfast? If I've eaten over at Kathy's house, I can probably tell you why she doesn't eat breakfast or lunch or dinner. Just saying. I think her mother might have failed home ec. So these are so it's always good to know that we can get people's attention. The EV Club, though, is really neat. They actually take a lot of personal videos, like they've done with my own mother's the home videos my mother and father had, and they actually transcribe them digitally. And they also show a lot of this stuff now online. So, Gary, if you'll pull up the website for them. I don't know what they're showing right now. This is the AV Geeks website. And if you scroll down, they have a YouTube channel where they will show live some of their stuff. So I don't know what they're showing right now.
When puppets go bad.
Yeah, when puppets go bad, in other words, it's smile time, but with the bad 70s mustache. So, but you can still buy some of these DVD collections from them, which, I think is really cool. The Raleigh. When was that? They did that July 23rd. Never mind, I missed it. So, but you can see a bunch, they'll do some of these things in like, Alamo and places like that where you can see some of this wild and crazy stuff. And if you are interested in old culture, stock video, they have stock clips you can pay for. So if you want to put in like stock clips in some of your videos and whatnot, they've got that too.
Cool.
So just some really really neat stuff there, and like you saw at the top of the page, they do a running live stream of stuff in their archive all the time. So I'm not sure what his problem is. I guess he's got to screw in a light bulb, and that will yeah, no, that's a bad idea, son. Just anyways, and no doubt
poster.
See, and we could sit there and MSTK that thing and really give you a real show then. That was not on the calendar, so none of us are quite prepared for that. But that's what I brought. So
nice, awesome.
Enjoyed it.
Those are cool.
Yeah, that was a great presentation, Chuck. I like the things you picked out and why.
Very eclectic.
Yes, and a good variety. It was awesome. I mean, I was thankful you didn't get on here and pull out 10 Fast and the Furious movies,
Yeah, that would
No. Knowing you, when you said I want to do DVDs, I'm like, well, he's going to have some historic stuff. This will be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
I brought a few historic things. So yeah, a few.
Very cool.
Well, right. Oh.
I do like MSTK, yes.
I do too.
And that stuff. Exactly.
Some of those will leave you laughing so hard, some of the jokes.
Well, the best thing is when you can do it, and I remember going to bad movies in college, with my friends, and we would just sit there and just rip them to shreds, and just absolutely tear them apart. And
These meat spots.
But would it mean the same for all of our friends overseas? So, I don't know.
DVH, you could be the next one, sir.
I was going to say, I'm guaranteed DVH has some great stuff there. So,
right. I am starting to schedule for September now.
Wow.
So. All right.
But Chuck, that was great. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Very enjoyable. There was only one movie in all of them, Chuck, that I went, but that's not bad because my taste is just weird.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do our normal. You guys probably got the same stuff coming on because you guys appear on 2 channels. So right? Yeah. So Mark, are you coming up on Joe's channel anytime soon?
No, actually I don't think so. There's nothing like imminent with Joe's channel, but he'll send out a message about either another espresso mail call or if he needs somebody on a panel. And my next appearance is on this show on the 8th, which is like 2 days away.
Right. And I bet he's already got all his records pulled.
Well, I've got the Travato loophole.
Doesn't matter, DVH.
Okay, good.
You like?
Yeah, I've got some of them stacked right here beside me, and the corresponding comics that go with it. So
that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope to keep you entertained and show you some stuff that will make you go, "Where'd you find that?" But
well, good.
So that's 8 o'clock. Same bat time, same bat channel, just a different topic.
I was gonna say, like, there's not much of us to say what's coming up next because we're all coming up next together.
Right.
So for all 3 of us collectively, be back here in 2 nights' time.
2 nights' time, same time.
And we did that because we knew if we didn't appear together again this week, that Jackson Roykirk would really miss us and go through withdrawals. And we don't want Jackson to go through withdrawals. We care a lot. So, but I would like to say, first of all, thank you, Mark, for coming on and being my co-host tonight. I appreciate it, sir. And Chuck, thank you for taking up the slot. Like I said, I put it out there that I had a cancellation tonight, and you gracefully filled in and did a knockout job as usual. Thank you so much. I always love hearing and learning about stuff you have. I love the perspectives on the show. I love the things that people are passionate about. It always makes it really fun for me. And of course, thank you to all the audience members, all the live chat. We had a great live chat tonight. We certainly appreciate you guys, and we hope you'll all return in 2 nights' time, so we can do it all again, except with Mark Andrews on the other side and some vinyl records. So
Vinyl records.
it'll be a lot of fun.
Hope so.
Maybe, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it'll be me, you, Chuck, and Digger Jim.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
But until next time, guys, you know how we like to end this thing. We are going to say, keep it casual and play the outro.